Hey everyone, Martin here again. The other day I was listening to Bedros Koulian and Wes Watson, and both of them said the same thing. Become the man you needed in your life. Hear that again. Become the man you needed in your life. Probably because somebody else needs that man too. And I don't know about you guys, but I was thinking about the person that I needed as a role model growing up, even into early adulthood. The person that I needed to kind of show me what it looked like to be a man, to experience life and teach me the things that I thought I needed to know. And growing up I didn't have necessarily that in my life, right? The streets became that. Gangs, drugs, drug dealers, all those things that I got involved with became those role models for me. And so as I got clean and I found my way back into the faith and into ministry and started dealing with other young men who were experiencing that lack of role model in their lives, I started to realize that when they said that, I needed to do more work on me in order to become the man that I needed when I was growing up, because there's somebody else who probably needs that same man too, right? And so I started thinking about well, what kind of man does the world need? What kind of man does my family need, right? And those have been the driving force ever since I started this little project here that we're on. But even before it, in figuring out what it looked like to be the man that I needed to be, right? And so I asked the question, what does this man look like? And what does this man do? The first thing that I came up with is that he's physically fit, which is what's really driving my fitness aspect in this area, right? There's a few things that you can tell about a man when he is physically fit, right? One, that he's consistent, right? He's always going to do what he's got to do, right? He's consistent in it. He has drive. He is disciplined. He's hardworking, and he's determined. The reality is, a physically fit person doesn't get fit overnight. There's a years of working and going to the gym and doing it and eating clean and taking care of themselves that they have to experience in order to become physically fit. And so this man, right, that I needed would be physically fit. So I want to become that man. My thing is I want to be down to 10% body fat. So people will see what it looks like to have those things happening in my life. He's going to be a man of integrity, right? People can count on him. His word is his reputation, right? When we talk about integrity, we talk about what you're doing when nobody's looking, right? Behind closed doors. And this man, the man that I need as a role model, will always be doing what he has to do when nobody else is paying attention. He does the right thing no matter what, right? And so in recovery, we talk about the symbol of our program, and the base of it is goodwill. And in that, right, it says goodwill is proper service. Proper service is best exemplified in doing the right thing for the right reason. And so my idea of this man of integrity, he's going to be doing the right thing no matter what. And the one thing I try to teach the guys that I work with is that even if it costs you, even if there's consequences, we have to do the right thing no matter what, or we shouldn't be making the wrong decision in the first place. And so this man that I aspire to become, because there's somebody else who needs it, needs a man of integrity who they can count on, that he's always going to do what is right. He's never looking out for himself. He's never looking out for any selfish reason or tendency. He's looking out for the people who need him. He's financially fit, right? So he can afford to do the things that he wants to do. I still suffer from poverty mentality, and there's a lot of things. My wife hates it when we go shopping, because one thing I do is I find something that I need or that I want, and I'll walk around the store long enough to put it back, right? I talk myself out of getting it, and what I do is I justify in my mind why I don't need it. I'll wear tank tops and beaters and socks and underwear long past their expiration dates, right? They'll have holes, they'll be straggly and ripped, and I have brand new ones in the drawer, and I'll tell my wife I don't need them yet because these ones still work, and they really don't. They're shabby and they look just beat down, but yet I won't get rid of them because I still want to use them. And this man doesn't live that way, right? He does what he has to do when he has to do it, even financially. Like he can get what he needs whenever he wants to, right? He's not looking for other people to pay. He's not a cheapskate. He takes care of business, right? And then in this area, I put like he's responsible for his family, right? And that's a huge thing, right? I deal with a lot of men who don't want to accept responsibility for their families and the roles that they have to play in the family and be leaders. They want the respect of the leader, but they don't want to live out the leadership life. And so one of the things I wrote here is that he is a provider, right? Those around him want for nothing. He provides for his family. He is responsible to make sure that his family has everything they need. There is no wanting from them, right? He provides what I was listening to Andrew Tate the other day as well. And Andrew Tate said that when it comes to his daughter, he will give her whatever she wants, because when she leaves his house, he wants her to learn how a good man is supposed to treat her by the way he treated his daughter, right? He goes, I want her to understand that her husband should be willing to give her anything that she needs to be provided for. And I thought that was very profound, because I sometimes don't want to give nobody nothing. You know what I mean? I still get cheap and frugal and stuff like that. And I can't think that way anymore, right? He's a protector. People feel safer with him around. They don't feel scared, right? Like they're not afraid of dad. What they're feeling is safety and the security of him. And it's the one thing like that I try to instill, like God instills in us. We have comfort in him, knowing that he's with us and that he loves us and he's going to constantly take care of us. And I believe that us earthly fathers should instill that same feeling into our children, right? Like they know dad's here, everything's going to be okay. So he's a provider, he's a protector, and he financially takes care of his family. He's faithful to God, first and foremost. That's his most important relationship, right? Without God, he's nothing. And so he's faithful to God. Like he does what God asks of him, right? He does the things that God commands him to do, right? Like his children see the relationship he has with God and respect it. But he's also faithful to his wife, right? And that goes for all areas of life, right? That means he's not looking at other women, right? When he makes the commitment to her and they put the ring on his finger, I've heard pastors say at times, you're removing the ability for any other woman to be a part of your life, right? And so and that's what happens here, right? He's taking faithfulness to God and to his wife, but more importantly to his family too, right? So he's faithful to the people around him. He does exactly what he says and says exactly what he's going to do. That's one of those things that we talked about yesterday, right? Like I had to make that video last night because I said I would do it. And so here, what I believe this man becoming the man that I needed in my life is a man who says exactly, or it does exactly what he says. I can trust his word. I can count on him, right? And you know who he is by the way he talks and the things that he talks about. He doesn't make jokes putting people down and hurting people. Like he's about business. And it says he loves with his whole heart. People know they are loved by him. Like people should know that this man is full of love for them. Right. And like that's why I want to do this, right? Is like because I want people to understand that they are loved by me, right? That this isn't a chore, this isn't about me, but this is about me becoming better for you, for my family, for the world, for the people around me, to know that any normal person can do this stuff too, right? That this doesn't take magical powers or anything like that. Everyone can do this. And so he loves with his whole heart. He also continually learns and is educated. He educates himself by learning more, right? He doesn't think that he knows everything. And that's why like one of the requirements for my daily non-negotiables is constant study, right? Constant inventorying on myself, or constant reading of something, or journaling. Like there's this process of filtering more information into myself. But this man, the man that I desire to be one day for other people, right, that I needed, is one who's constantly learning, right? One who he wants to be educated more. He does exactly what he needs to when he needs to, no matter what, right? So this kind of goes back to the one earlier with the goodwill, right? He does the right thing, but this one is he even does what he has to, no matter what, no matter the cost, right? How hard is that for us sometimes? Like when we know that we're gonna be suffering, or we know that punishment or pain is coming our way, can we still do the things that have to be done, right? And so like one of the things that I'm thinking about with this is he does exactly what has to, even if it means him suffering, right? And I believe that there's growth in suffering, right? We grow through suffering. We come to a better understanding of who God is by the way God walks us through. We get to see the people who are really in our lives, right? Because they don't leave us when the times get tough. They're not fair weather friends. They're with it. They're in it with us, right? Our families get the chance to walk alongside. You know, as a pastor, I do funerals, and I always tell families, right, like the greatest part of the funeral service is when people are sharing stories. And I said, and for those of you who don't think that you can get up here and talk because you're going to cry, you're going to break down and have this emotional experience, I said, you're the person that I want up here. And I said, the reason being is because it allows your family to come around you and hold you and support you and keep you up. Like that's important, right? To see people come around each other. I put that he accepts responsibility when things don't go as planned. And when they do, he gives credit where credit is due, right? So this isn't about him. It's not about him wanting the glory. But what happens is when things fall apart, he accepts responsibility. He does not blaming if you would have did this and you would have did that and you would have da. It's I did not do good enough, right? I used to have a coach when I played college baseball, and when we would make an error, right, in practice, he said, it's not your fault, it's my fault. I didn't teach you good enough for you to be able to make that play. So let me continue teaching you to make you better at that, right? He was accepting responsibility for the player screwing up. And I believe that the man, right, that I needed is that kind of man. He's going to accept responsibility when things fall apart, knowing he probably could have done more in order to make it better, right? And then when things go as planned, he's giving credit to people. He's showering people with praise and letting them know you did a good job. This was a success because you were a part of it, right? Not, oh, I'm so great, look at me, whoop, whoop, whoop. No, it's because you were here, you know? One of the things I said, also, he's an offering to God and to the world, right? To his family. He's an offering, like he pours himself out for the people around him and for God. He's not so important that he can't be bothered by people, right? He's an offering, like he's putting himself out there for people to be able to see and to do things with, right? Like that's important. It's terrible when you have those high and mighty people who can't be bothered by nobody, right? And so this man isn't that way. And it says that, and I put on here that he has a spirit of humility and he knows who he is and who he belongs to. Right? How attractive is a spirit of humility, right? Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less, right? Hear that again. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, right? Because people will be like, oh, I'm so humble. Look, I'm not that good, blah, blah. No, humility is thinking of yourself less. Why? Because I'm thinking about other people more often. And like, and this is what is kind of driving, like, ever since I've been thinking about doing this, right? That theme, become the man you needed in your life because somebody else probably needs him too, has been driving this whole thing, right? Keeping my word and working on my body and eating better, and right, because realistically, me being a liar or being fat or being unhealthy is not going to do anybody any good, right? And so if I desire this, and the one thing that I try to teach the guys that I work with is you need to be what you desire for yourself, right? So I can't desire for somebody to be something for me that I'm not willing to be for other people. And so when I heard this quote, for me, that was like the aha moment, like, oh, that's why this needs to happen. This needs to happen because there's people who need a role model. There's people who need leadership. There's people who need a friend. There's people who need a dad, right? I have a guy, one of the guys in the house right now, he's probably my age, maybe even older. He calls me Pops, right? He's like, you're like my dad. Like, you give me good suggestions and good advice, and you help me process through things. He goes, you're like what my dad would be for me if he was still alive. We're the same age, but he's like, no, man, he goes, I'm gonna call you my Pops, man. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, if you feel like you need to, but, and that's what I'm trying to get at here, right? Like, the whole purpose of doing this is to hopefully become the man that I needed, because there's probably somebody else who needed him too. And so I just wanted to share that little thought with you guys. I know that I'll probably speak on this one again, because this is like very dear to my heart. But I want it to be what drives this, right? This is the vision. When I think about why I do this is it right here. To become the man that I needed in my life, because there's probably somebody else out there who needs him too. If anybody hasn't told you yet, please know that you're loved and that I love you, and you have a great day, and God bless you.